Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the dinosaurs led by Bob that Builder, facing off against the Dark Elves, who shall be helmed by the Kraken King Anticity, going with his Vampire Coast style here with the Dark Elves. Very, very wide bow line here, so it's going to be, I think, the maximum amount of Darkshards, which is going to be 8. Should be quite a bit of fun to see that in action. So, front line is going to be spears, which makes sense. Lizard do present a lot of big threats. You're going to be seeing Bastillodons, you're going to be seeing Feral Cold One Spear Riders, and potentially even bigger dinosaurs. Granted, against Dark Elves, I think it is very risky to go with things like Dreadsaurian because of their armor-piercing missiles. So spears in the front. In the secondary, we do have mass Darkshards, which should just do a ton of damage. I mean, their overall missile strength isn't obscenely high compared to some other missile pieces, but they do have extremely high armor-piercing variables. So when they're shooting into pretty much anything, they're going to be doing a lot of damage. So Darkshards are here to party. Up in the sky, it's going to be Morathi. Morathi going to be rocking the classic kit of Soul Stealer in the Power of Darkness, so draining the life of some of the Darkshards here in the back to generate the Wind's Magic as well as the reserve. Certainly not bad at all. And Morathi's great in this matchup. A little bit vulnerable against the Skinks and their poking missiles. So if there's like Chameleon Skinks or Skink Skirmisher, she can have sort of a bad time. But she does have Soul Stealer, Anti-Large, and does have some nice debuffs here with the Heartrender and the Dark Sword, which is going to be lowering stats. And she can do quite a bit of work against the big threats as well. So for the army of Bob that Builder here, it's going to be a front line of Saurus Warriors with shields. And it's a good choice for sure. These bad boys do, of course, have bronze shields, which will help a little bit against missiles, and will be able to hold most Druchii infantry in the front line. Lizards are certainly favored in the infantry department in this matchup. A couple spears in the secondary, but the real epicenter of the build is going to be the Ancient Salamanders. Now, this is a classic tech against Dark Elves. You've seen Ancient Salamanders used to counter Darkshard battle lines for quite some time. They do have 160 range. Darkshards only have 120, so if microed carefully, they're able to poke down the Darkshards at a distance and really cause quite a bit of havoc. But we do have some counter tech here from Anticity. It is going to be Scourge Hunter Chariots, which do have the anti-large javelins that can shoot into the Salamander. So we do see some HP being taken off that Sally right out of the gates. And the slan for the Lizards is going to be a High Mage slan. Not a bad choice. We do have the Tempest, so looking to lock down either like a Malekith Dragon or a Supreme Sorcerer's Dragon, or Morathi, of course, and Apotheosis just to heal the dinosaurs. Slan, I think, are definitely some of the best casters in the game, and there is going to be a big old Tempest going down, and that is going to be an overcasted Tempest, which is going to do some fat damage right there. Morathi going to be landing on the ground, trying to avoid missiles. He probably assumed that he was going to be getting shot by the Salamanders, and if he triggered the landing animation, he would dodge those shots, so certainly not a bad idea. Now, looks like Soul Stealer going to be going down, going to be nailing one Salamander, and good choice. Morathi got pretty beat up there by that Tempest, so getting that on the books is going to be nice for starting to get those heals off on her. You can see her HP shooting up pretty quickly. In the meantime, Salamander's eating the Scourge Hunter shots to the face. Scourge Hunter going to be charging into melee right here, doing a little bit of work, while the Ancient Salamander drops its first payload here, and one Darkshard is going to be taking big old damage. So, yeah, Salamander's a good answer against those, but that amount of Darkshards is going to be very tough to get rid of. Probably the tactics that you'll see from Bob, he's going to comfortably set an objective 2 and 1 and hope that the Dark Elves are going to move far enough forward to expose their flanks to an overload here. So, like Vanguard deployment of Skinks, maybe Feral Cold Ones rushing out of this spawn to get out of the trees, and maybe push these guys. It's a very common tactic against missile line builds to try and force them to overextend into one of your open spawn points where you can flank them. Morathi gets nailed really, really hard by that Salamander. They actually do respectable damage against SEs as well, but shooting into infantry is where they really shine. Morathi taking a fight up in the sky, going to be going after the Clossodons. And, even though she could do well against them, probably not going to be good because of Tempest. And now Tempest is going to be catching the Crows of Cain. And the Clossodon Hunters also have the support of Apotheosis. So this fight up in the sky is for sure going to be favoring Bob that Builder, as we do see Morathi getting karate chops here. But what is this going on? We do see the Salamander moving in. It's trying to get an attack on the deep set Darkshards. But Anticity is a gunslinger for sure. He's going to see this, and this Salamander's probably going to die. Yeah, this must have been a misclick here. Unfortunate for him, but Anticity is going to be capitalizing on it, and we get to see the power of Darkshards. If you get in their kill box for even a second, you're going to get canned. So that SE got put down. I wish single entities died to shooting like that in tabletop. That would be very nice, but sadly, they do not. So in the backfield, Ancient Salamander's going to be ripping some big old shots downtown, and they do manage to nail those units. Nope, they missed that shot there. And we do get these Saurus Warriors moving up, but out of the gates, Anticity does get a really nice pick on that SE. But as far as the Flying Air Force fight goes, it looks like we do see the Crows of Cain fleeing the scene. And wait a second, did Morathi die? Oh my god, I don't think I noticed that, but I think Morathi just died in that fight. Oh man, that's a really, really tough for Anticity. And we're going to see if he can claw his value back. I mean, he still has his bread and butter, which are his Darkshards. So we're going to see if they can do it. In the back, we do get Dark Riders coming around the flank, most likely looking to jump on top of the Ancient Salamander right here. In the meantime, we do see the Banishment coming down from this land, going to be dropped in the middle of the two Darkshard units, and is going to make some light contact here. But overall, the Darkshard shooting is doing a lot of damage. We are seeing the Saurus Warriors in the front getting buckled a little bit, and here we're going to be seeing these Saurus start to fall. Most likely this Bastillodon, the Rev Crystal, is going to be in a little bit of danger, and an extremely risky play by Bob that Builder, moving his Battletoad this close. The Darkshards are going to be able to turn about face, and you can see he immediately realizes the error of his ways. He moved up to get the Blood Statuette, so he's trying to do the damage ability with the Slan. Obviously needs to be a little bit closer for that, but does put his Lord in a precarious position, as despite losing his Lord out of the gates, the Kraken King here is at 3.1 against 3.8, so really not a bad situation considering how rough of a start that was. Feral Manticore is going to be the call-in. We do also see the Scourge Runner Chariots. I would wager at this point, Anticity is probably going to be saving up to bring Marathi back in. I mean, he has enough standing army on the field. The Darkshards are getting a lot of work done, melting down these Saurus Warriors, and now we see the big overload coming in. So it's going to be a legion of Feral Cold Ones, 3 in total. The Dread Spear is going to be forming up to intercept these dinosaurs, so one unit of the dinos is going to get taken down by the Dread Spears for sure. But the other ones are going to make their way onto these Darkshards here that are also being focus fired to the back here by the Ancient Salamander. So here they come. The jump is going to be there in a couple seconds, and impact is made, and they do start to break down. But overall, the flanking attempt, not going super great. I mean, one Darkshard unit might be compromised. Mainly the Salamander is doing the heavy lifting. We do see the points being saved for Anticity here. He's going to be sitting at 1100, but you got to resummon Marathi, I think, because just having that much Winds of Magic in the pool is such a disastrous situation. Now, across this, we do see the Darkshard core holding here well with the Dread Spears, forcing back the Feral Cold Ones, so some of the Darkshards do rally here. And the Battletoad's in a little bit of trouble as well, using a Tempest ability on the Feral Manticore to try and lock that down. The Battletoad is going to be using Shield of the Old Ones also to give him the sweet, sweet ward save to maybe mitigate some of the damage coming in from the Darkshards, which are trying to scoot up. Anticity certainly wants that kill. We do have the Colossadon Hunters returning from their successful conquest of the Dark Elves. And it looks like Anticity not going to be bringing the caster back in. I understand that as well, though. There's a lot of urgency here because you're getting pressed by the lizards hard. And if you wait a long time to summon in your Lord, you're going to be losing a ton of momentum on the battlefield potentially. Feral Cold Ones charging back in, and we do also see the Skink cohorts moving in, and I assume the Dread Spears will intercept them. But overall, the Darkshards are functional, and he's within about 800 value here of the Lizards, and he still has a big army. Obviously, most of his value lost is in Marathi, but the Dark Elf army is certainly outperforming the Lizard army, but the fact that the snipe on the Marathi, it might be enough to make up for it, right? So, Banishment, once again, cast by the Slan Mage of High Magic here, and that's going to be tickling the pickle here of these Darkshards. So they get melted pretty good as the Saurus Warriors move in. Spears in the face. Darkshards not the most tanky in melee. Only going to be rocking 17 melee defense, so they're going to be fleeing back here while the Darkshards continue to shoot into the Saurus Warriors. And let's take a look at the objective situation. So Objective 3 belongs to the Kraken King, and the dinosaurs are going to be holding on to Objectives 2 and 1. So the dinos do, of course, have the objective advantage. You can see the points are going to be 601, 603 versus 310 right now. But the Dark Elf army seems a little bit healthier on the field. A lot of functional Darkshards still here. The Manticore, though, does get chased off, so really, really good usage out of the Colossadon Hunters so far, which probably have good value. I mean, they did take down Marathi, I believe, as well, 1,300, so some of that is from Marathi. Marathi obviously took the majority of her damage from the Tempest ability, but they were able to probably help finish the job. Couple of the annoying Skink cohorts moving in. Very sticky, very fast unit, but not the best leadership in the world. And the Darkshards with a little bit of infantry support should be able to win that. And we do see the battle line is holding for the Dark Elves. Saurus Warriors going to be getting cold blood, but good kiting from Anticity here. Going to be running away with the Darkshards, dragging them into the open field and getting some work done. While we do see a cab attempt. Cold One Dread Knights coming in. So they were called out most likely from the Vanguard point over in this direction, and they were sent to take out the Battletoad. And if they can get a kill on the Battletoad, that's really going to equalize this game. Obviously, the Battletoad has been using a little bit of Apotheosis, so that needs to be factored in as well. But the Slan Mage at 2,800 is going to be getting nibbled, and we do see a drop of the hammer going down. But they're not quite able to get the Slan. He's rolling, he has some infantry underneath him, and even if they're not really fighting actively, they still are providing buffering. We do see the HP of the Slan going down, and more Skinks are going to be called in. I think right now Bob is having to use the dreaded face-to-foot style, where he just sends waves and waves of cheap units in, and hopes that the Darkshard's efficiency is going to be mitigated by that. We'll see if that's the case, though. So Objective 2 still belonging to the Lizards. Looked like it was going to flip there, and Marathi's back in the menu, so Marathi's coming for blood. She remembered what happened last time, and she is pissed. So her plot armor has saved her, and she's going to be jumping on the Slan. Slan at 1,900 HP at 1,800, 1,400. Another Tempest does go down. Tempests have been MVP this game. So far, the Slan's sitting at 2,600 value, and that's predominantly from casting Tempest. Of course, Blood Statuette and Banishment have done some really good damage as well. But here we do see Marathi running away once again from the Colossadon Hunters. Going to be landing on the ground to get the support from the Coldland Dread Knights, but the Colossadon Hunters have been really problematic for the Dark Elves here. They're going to rip apart the Dread Knights as well pretty effectively. I mean, the Dread Knights with Marathi's support probably would win, especially if these spears do get in combat, but Yeah, precarious situation. Let's hope for the Dark Elf's sake they have a Soul Stealer. Now, Bob is going to continue pressing Objective 3, just kind of sending waves and waves of chaffs and using his rallying units to try and compromise the missile pieces. And several of them are being compromised here. Dark Elves do have a little bit of momentum right here, but the Scourge Runner Chariot and the Dread Spears, as well as the Manticore, a little bit of terror as well. But Lizards do seem to be kind of stabilizing a little bit, but the value is more or less dead even here. And this fight's going to be very, very important here. We're going to see how this turns out. Cold One Dread Knights, looking at the value they've gotten so far, they're sitting at about 1,200 value. That's going to be a very, very good Soul Stealer. That probably will help finish off the Colossadon Hunters. And now that Marathi's back in combat, she's going to be lowering the combat stats. You see this? So Heartrender and the Darkshard, -5 and -5 here. So you can see now when you mouse over the base values, what is causing these stat debuffs. A unit being winded, for example, is going to be a minor debuff to their melee attack, and exhausted and, the various tired levels of fatigue are going to be affecting that. So Dread Knights are pretty Giga Chad here. Marathi also getting a little bit of value back, but the Lizards do appear to have just about a triple cap. Their Skinks were able to overwhelm the Darkshards that were fighting since pretty much the early game. But up here, we do see the Dark Elves getting a bit of momentum as the Dread Knights probably going to be able to defeat the Feral Cold Ones, even in their very tattered status. And Marathi may be going to get a snipe here on the Bastillodon. Now, did the Slan manage to waddle away? So the Slan Mage of Life is going to be retreating into the trees. So the tactical withdrawal, falling back in good order, is the Slan Mage moving back into the tree line here. Currently sitting at almost 3,000 value, so 2,800 on that bad boy certainly is no joke. So Dark Elves are getting a little bit of momentum with their mobility. And what I anticipate happening is, looking at the battlefield, right, we see a lot of Dark Elf mobility right here and a fair amount of healthy units, whereas the Dinos are very tattered now at this point. We see a couple Feral Cold Ones and, miscellaneous units around the field. But the Dark Elves have this big hammer squad, right? So it's probably going to be a situation of the Dark Elves moving around, desperately trying to grab the objectives and get them from the Dinos, who have a massive points lead. So Bob really just needs to hold the points for as long as he can and try and win on points, because he has kind of yielded control of the battlefield a little bit to the Dark Elves. Marathi being healthy, lots of cab units. We have the Manticore, and I guess there is an Ancient Salamander here. Ancient Salamander sitting at 215 kills, 1,800 value, really good. And they're mainly brought to deal with Dark Shards. And they're also very good against the Dark Rider Repeater Crossbows too, which are very meta as well. Dark Elves are a pretty strong faction right now in domination mode, certainly on the upper echelon, I would say. They have a couple, but they're very hard to play. That's the thing. Like, Dark Elves are not like an Unga Bunga Chaos faction. Like, there are some factions that I think are really easy to play at a high level, like Khorne, for example. Nurgle can be pretty easy. The hard part about Nurgle is not so much the micro, it's learning the builds and in-game decision making. It's a big thing with like where to send units, what's your timing to push things, et cetera, et cetera. Khorne, for example, just kind of murder hobos and pushes forward, very lore accurate. But Dark Elves are a good faction, but require a lot of skill and a lot of finesse to play. Their units have low HP, but do hit very, very hard, which is, of course, lore-friendly as well. But you got to make those good decisions. But yeah, I mean, Lizards are looking a little bit raggedy. Did Marathi get this? Marathi did get the Slan, so Anticity does get the Lord kill. That is big. But Saurus Warriors are very, very tough to remove. Looking at the Dark Elves, they do have two objectives. We do see Bob that Builder approaching 1250. So yeah, he obviously is just going to be winning on one objective here. So that's all he really needs to hold. And the Horn one's going to be heading across. Horny boys are pretty tough to break. Their base leadership, I think, is 80. Let's go and check. 85. Wow. So Lord recently dying is a -16 penalty, which after, I believe, 30 seconds, I can't quite remember the number, does get relegated down to 10. So you'll notice that the Lord dying penalty will go down to 10 eventually. And now it's down to 10, right? So there it is. And that's where it will sit for the rest of the game. Have the Lord having, or whatever your general dying, right? So in the back, we do see the Feral Manticore usage, which is pretty cool. I like that from Anticity. And obviously that's a tech to hunt down the Ancient Salamanders and just get a cheap source of terror to bunker bust like Skinks. Saurus are going to be a little bit tough. Their leadership is very, very high. And terror routing them is no easy feat. But, getting, just some Skink skirmishers or, Skink cohorts off the objectives is very, very good. So the Horn ones down here, not doing bad. It looks like Crows of Cain going to be getting slapped with something, or is that a Soul Stealer coming down? I think it's going to be a Soul Stealer, so that's a good cast right there. That's pretty much the last valuable piece that the Lizards do have. Although most of Anticity's army here, guys, is actually mobility and Dark Riders, right? Nothing like terribly powerful. Although in the back we do get some Dark Shards coming in and some Bleak Swords, which is a good call. He's going to need more units like that to win this game because it's getting very precarious. And here we do have the Saurus Spears. Saurus Spears are going to be incredibly tough to remove, but we're going to see if they can get here in time to hold this objective because the Dark Elves have a ton of capture weight. Horn ones, though, pretty pretty savage fighters. They do have the primal instincts, or predatory fighters, what it is. So these guys do get the melee attack buff, and they do have they do have primal instincts as well, which gives them the melee attack and phys res, and it makes them very, very difficult to remove. So Lizards moving all the capture weight they possibly can onto the objective. The Ancient Salamander clutches it, and this is really big. I think if Bob had lost this objective here, I think he just loses the game, but like every moment you can buy in a close objective game like this is pretty massive. So Anticity going to be rolling down with 1 million capture weight right now, but removing that Sara Spear is going to be very difficult. Marathi could, maybe with like a Soul Stealer, even a full surround on these guys is going to be no joke. And look at the ambush. Value is dead even here in this game, ladies and gentlemen. And Bob is going to be emerging from the tree. So this is a really kind of advanced tactic in domination. Now, your normal instincts in a domination endgame situation like this, where you're, winning on points but behind on objectives, would be to constantly send units out to try and maintain your objective. But instead of doing that, Bob saved up over 900 resources to instantly summon, 15 capture weight in one corner. That's very quick. So the advantage of that kind of build-up, that like patience, he can surprise his opponent who's constantly sending units out all over the battlefield, so he can't allocate the same amount of resources to what you're doing here. So I like that a lot, and that's easily going to get this objective. I mean, this is 15 capture weight, and this is one of the biggest strengths of Lizardmen in domination mode, is how fast and strong, I mean, not strong per se, but how fast their capture weight is. The skink cohorts have 46 speed, and they can hold reasonably well. They have the precursor ammo there, they're the javelins, and they are able to nail down some of the Dread Knights. Marathi going to be coming in. Bob, he's going to be getting hit by a big Soul Stealer here, though. That's going to hurt pretty bad. Is he going to get the objective, though, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to be dodgy. He does manage to get some Feral Cold Ones up in the point, and the Dark Elves are going to be rushing the Dark Riders. Manticore coming in for the Terror route could be pretty brutal. This is do or die for Bob. He really needs to flip this point. If he doesn't, I think that Anticity probably closes out the game. If he flips it, then there's still a chance. And it does get flipped. Okay, so we do get the Dark Riders moving in. Ancient Salamander are going to be heading up to the point, so Bob is probably going to be saving up again. We do see the supplies being spent on the bottom, or are they going to be sent here? Okay, so it looks like it's going to go in the middle. We do have these skink cohorts and the Feral Cold Ones heading to objective 2, so really just desperately trying to get the points. But 11.4 against 11.2, really, really close game. Of course, the value damage meter doesn't always track various spells. It's very, very haggard like that. It would be nice if CA would fix it, but that's probably never going to happen. They have enough issues. But skink cohorts moving up, providing the capture weight. The Manticore here is going to be clutch. As I said, it will be able to terror out some of these units off. So the Feral Cold Ones and the skink cohorts, which normally would fight a little bit longer, probably going to get terrified off the objective. And now the Dark Elves are going to have the opportunity, but the Lizardmen are really, really showing their mettle here. And the fact that they do have the Sars Warrior unit down here, which is occupying several units, is really big, right? Like, it's occupying 15 capture weight here for the Dark Elves, and it's just one Sars unit. So that's big money city. Probably just leaving the Bleak Sword here to fight it, and then moving the Darkshards up to the middle to try and contest that earlier. Maybe could have been good, but this is such a panicked situation. 14:45, ladies and gentlemen. What a knockdown, drag-out game, as this objective is going to be going back to the Kraken King, who's really, really playing whack-a-mole here. We do see the skink cohorts moving up on the point, and the other skink cohorts are here as well. Manticore are going to be swooping in, and once again, the Lizards are able to steal the point, using the Ancient Salamander to run some interference. So the Ancient Salamander ran up and was able to block some of the Darkshards from getting to the point quickly. So now Anticity really needs to get this point, but the Lizards do have a lot of speed coming in, 46 movement speed at skink cohorts. And the valiant Feral Cold Ones here, look how much they're holding back. They're really keeping these Bleak Swords in check, as well as mobility. Soul Stealer going to be going down from Marathi as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I think 25 seconds left. Is he going to be able to get it? We do see the skink cohorts arriving up at the point. On the top side, oh my goodness, are these guys going to rally back? These guys could pop out of the trees as well and jump on objective 1, but I don't think Bob has noticed that. That would have been maybe a game-winning play as well. If he ends up losing it, that could have been a big, big variable there. So objective 3 looks like it is going to be owned by the Dark Elves. And here we got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the Lizards are able to clutch it. What a game. That was a really close one, man. I mean, big blunders on both sides, right? But that's what makes it fun, right? We saw Marathi getting killed instantly, but Anticity was scrappy and played the objectives well and was able to get back into the game. And, Bob, on that same note, he overextended his slan. He instantly lost his Salamander. He lost his Lord in the mid-game, but was able to come back with his tenacity and objective decision-making, which is really big. So well played to these guys, man. That was a great match between these two mighty champions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one as well. And let's take a look at the breakdown of these bad boys. So yeah, overall, what were the big performers for the dinosaurs? The Salamanders, if this other Salamander hadn't died and had mirrored the performance of its buddy, that would have been a very, very big win for the dinos probably. 2,800 on this land. He was obviously an MVP as well. And yeah, the cheap mobility, the feral cold ones are so cost effective, and cool to see the horn ones, although they did get shut down. For Anticity, Marathi summoned twice, obviously. That was a big blunder. If Marathi hadn't been killed earlier, he probably would have been able to take over the game. The Darkshard battle line, 800, 1200, 2600, 670. I mean, amazing value on his missile line. Anticity is definitely, historically, one of the better missile build players for sure. So, yep, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Anticity, of course, if you guys don't know who he is also a YouTuber. He does a lot of campaign stuff, but also streams his multiplayer content from time to time. He used to be a super, super active tournament player, was consistently in the top 16, very, very strong, and of course had some great faction war performances back in Warhammer 2. So make sure to check him out if you guys are interested. His YouTube channel, the name is the same as his name here. And also big shout out to Bob, that builder. He has made a ton of the maps that we play on our Total Tavern tournament. So another absolute chat in the community. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. We'll see you around, and that's going to be it for tonight.